All right, good morning, everyone. Hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. Let's go ahead and take a look and see where we are with Bitcoin here. All right, as you can see, we opened up this new week fairly strong here. So, we did get a nice, decent wick to the downside, right around 65, 344. I believe that occurred last night, and we've just kind of been moving our way upward ever since. Um, there is a possibility that we don't come back down here or we don't make a deeper wick. You can see kind of in some past weeks where we've had some bullish action like this candle right here, even this one. We don't have to make a deep wick down. We can continue on upward. So it's really going to depend on, on a macro scale, how much our sentiment has changed, from bearish to bullish. So there is a potential that we did bottom for the week. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see. I drew a line right here, but we really don't have any resistance until about 69K, where we have another strong resistance point. So, I'm expecting that we're going to basically probably be able to kind of slowly work our way up here fairly easily without too much, basically, too much difficulty, right? Let's go into the daily and see where we're at here. So, daily we are touching the 21 MA, and it looks like we kind of bounced off of it. One thing that I will show you guys in a little bit here is that we did re-enter that range I was talking about. So we did get above that 65K level and re-entered the value area profile that we were in. That fixed volume range that we were in before. So we did exit it for a while. We kind of hung out around down here, and then we re-entered it. So that's a really good sign for the bulls. Let's go ahead and go into the 8-hour. So the 8-hour, we basically broke above this wick right here, and we broke above it pretty strongly. So that's a really good sign. If you did a fib pull, I was basically doing a pull from this next wick up right here, which would be our next area, and that's where I was getting that 69K-ish number that I was talking about this morning. So that's kind of the next area that I'm targeting. Going into the 4-hour, same type of thing. We haven't taken out these equal highs yet, so that would be a target that I would be shooting for sooner rather than later, around 67,500. So that's what I'm going to be looking at for right now on a short-term basis. I do think that we maybe will consolidate above here, somewhat, and so, like I said, slowly work our way up. The main thing for me is as long as we hold that basically that value area low of the previous range that we were in, we're going to stay in a bullish sentiment, in my opinion. So let's go down to the 1-hour. Yeah, that's perfect. So we could actually be making some sort of flag right now this morning here. Let me kind of flag this out here. So I'd be expecting some sort of continuation pattern for Bitcoin for right now. Let's see here. Yeah, so that kind of takes us up to an equal top. I could probably pull it even deeper than that, though. Let's see. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that takes us above 67K. So I'd be expecting some sort of flag right now, just some healthy consolidation, maybe waiting for the 21 to come up. Nothing that I'm seeing so far is bearish, though, for Bitcoin. I still think that, like I said, we're in a very bullish sentiment for right now, at least. And you could even kind of drag this down. Let me expand my chart here. Oops. Yeah, something like that. And then breaking out of that falling wedge there. Yeah. You could probably pull it even deeper, but, it takes you above 67K. So, anyways, guys, that's kind of what I'm seeing for, on the chart without looking at liquidity. Let's go ahead and dive into that right now. All right. So, as I mentioned, it's some really good signs, right? We kind of bounced off of the top of the value area high of the bottom range that we were getting close to re-entering. And we didn't find our way into it on the daily time frame. So that's a really, really good sign for the bulls. And I believe that also was the area where we were bouncing off of our 200-week moving average. So a lot of confluence there. And then you can see here that we already, from yesterday, we have officially re-entered our fixed volume profile above us, right? And we're kind of hovering around. So as long as we can stay above that 65, 674, we have some strong resistance there now. As long as we can stay above there, you can consider ourselves bullish. Okay, we are technically, if you were to, so let me take this off here. If you were to pull a fib right here, you can see that because we re-entered this range, now we are still in a discount because we're in a discount of this new range up here, right? So anything below the 0.5 is considered a discount. Anything above the 0.5 is considered a premium. Okay, so anything below 70,900-ish is considered a discount now at this point, because we're re-entered into this range. And as long as we're in this range, this is a discount area, right? You can see that when we had some accumulation zones right here, this was all in a discount, and then we launched into a premium, right? We launched up into this premium up here to the top of the value area high. We came back down, we launched above the value area high into the next volume profile, but you can see, we got rejected off of that 200, came back in, unfortunately lost that value area high, and then we even went below the value area low, and then had to test this value area high, down here. So anyways, that's kind of how these work. I mean, the fixed volume profiles are extremely important, and they give you a lot of information, so just kind of keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and take a look at liquidity, though, and see kind of where we're at. So the daily, really for the 3x, we don't really have anything for that pool up until way up here, around the volume area high of this range, around 76, 192. The 5x, we have some around 69, so that's around the area that I'm looking at for a possible rejection. We get up to that resistance point. It's going to be interesting to see, whether or not we can continue to go above that, or if we're going to get somewhat rejected. Even though that is still part of the, I guess, the value area low, or near the value area low, and basically the discount zone of this range, that is, I believe, around the 0.5. So that's what's considered our dealer's range. Looks like it's right below it. So it's around the 0.382 here. But this is kind of, once you get around the 0.5, it's considered our dealer's range. And price can either consolidate around there or reject. That's a pretty strong range. So I would look for, some sort of resistance point. Obviously around that 69K area is where I was looking at, but it could honestly be between these two yellow lines. So I would definitely have these on your chart, 68,996 and then 70,940. 70,940 would be your basically your midway point of this range, and then the 68,996 is that 786 bearish 786 level right there. So moving on into the 10x liquidity, even more so, you would see that, and I was talking about this in the group this morning, but basically that would be taking out the 10x pool, right? So if we were to get up in here, that's taking out that local 10x pool, and then also the 5x pool as well. So there is some confluence there with that 786 level, which is why I'm looking for resistance right there mainly. Really after that, there's not too much. So that's not great news. We could, if we're really bullish, truly bullish, we could consolidate up here once we get into this level, and build up enough short liquidity to be able to plow to the upside, right? The bearish case is that we take all of this out, and we take it out pretty strong, and then we get rejected off of it, and then we're gonna have to probably come down here and visit this area down here. Okay. We do have some bridges building up to get into that 25x down here, and then obviously to the 10x, but it's really gonna be interesting to see how we react here. I did have a weekly long that I opened yesterday, just to see how it would play out. Once we get up into here, I am going to consider taking profits, just because of how liquidity is, and of course I do like to trade using fib levels, so that is going to be an area that I am going to be considering taking profit in the upper 60s, 69K-ish area. Let's dive into the 4-hour here. So the 4-hour, I check this off. You can see that we do have some 25x now up to here. Shows a little bit differently from the daily because it is more concentrated, zoomed in, I should say. So you can see that basically what I'm implying is that we would probably get rejected off of the 4-hour 200 MA. It's probably going to slowly come down here, you know, as price comes up to try to test this out. We do have our other moving averages curving up, which is a great sign. So our 21 and our 50. But we could possibly get rejected, just so that you guys know, we could possibly get rejected off of this 200 moving average, okay? 10x kind of shows that same sort of story, okay? So just be aware of that's kind of the next area that I'm looking at. Now, let's go ahead and finally dive into the 15 minute. Actually, you know what? Let's do the 1 hour first. I keep forgetting about the 1 hour, but let's do the 1 hour first here. Yeah, so that kind of shows the same thing. You know, we have a lot of concentrated, you know, 100x liquidity up to 69K-ish area. We could even go past that, the 100x says. So we have a lot of bridges going up, which is a great sign. 50x, we have it up to that around that 69K area. So we'd start diving into a little bit of that 25x of the concentrated liquidity. So that's kind of a perfect setup for right now as far as that bearish 786 goes. And then as far as to the downside potential points to look at, this starts getting into, you know, below the value area low. So, you know, you start dropping below 65.6. You just want to basically see a strong reaction from that point. So we can drop below it on the smaller time frames, but we want to see a strong, you know, 786 or bounce off of that to basically get us back into that range and continue our way upward if we were to continue down lower. Okay, so I don't want to see, you know, basically us getting below this green area right here. So around 65 to 300. If we do exit that value area low, I do want to see a strong bounce to push us back up. Okay. 15-minute time frame kind of paints that same picture. So we do have a lot of liquidity to the upside. Yeah, you can see here. So we have that nice red band at 68,000. So that's going to be a really good spot for liquidity right there. But again, guys, like I really want to see us stay within this value area, or, you know, low, basically. I don't want to see us lose that value area low. I want to see us stay within the fixed range. So 65.6, make sure you have that on your charts as well. Again, we can get down here, but just, you know, we need to see a strong bounce to bring us back up, right? So, you know, lining that up with our order book with Kiyotaka, you know, you can see that we do have a lot of orders up here taking us up to 68,000, which is that red area that I've been talking about, around 68.1. You know, after that point, we do have some bigger orders around the 70K level, which would align with that 69-ish, you know, bearish 786 level. So anyways, guys, that is your morning update. I will be back this afternoon. Hope you guys have a wonderful day and take care.